Welcome to another edition of The Flying Professor. I'm flying in Eve, a Tectum Sierra Mark II, over some islands in Auckland's Hauraki Gulf. I've done this many times. The draw card for me is the wreck of a great sailing ship that was run aground here almost a century ago, a victim of circumstance and poor planning. You can read about the ship's history in Wikipedia and other online sources. She was built in Cumbria in northwest England in 1889 and named the Alice A. Lee. She had 4 masts, carried 31 sails, and was 94 meters long. She arrived in Auckland in August of 1922. This was to be her final voyage. Sadly, it was the end of the era of the great sailing ships. With nothing left for her to do, she sat at anchor at Chelsea near Northcote Point for about 8 years. In 1930, she was purchased by an Aucklander named Charles Hanson for £800 sterling. I looked up an online inflation calculator just to see what this would be equivalent to in today's money. Based on CPI and other data, this would be about 70,000 UK pounds today, or 140,000 New Zealand dollars. So today's UK pound is worth slightly more than 1% of its value in 1930. This is a lesson in what inflation does to a currency. The plan was to tow the ship to Rewa, where she would serve as a breakwater and some sort of floating casino with customers delivered from shore in fast boats. But running her aground on the sand was not a good idea. Here's a newspaper clipping from the Times that reads, "Stranded bark Rewa takes a sharp list to port. Caretaker has an alarming experience." Seems that the event woke him up. It was time to take a closer look at the wreck that is within easy access from shore. So we went for a dive on the wreck on the 18th of August 2023. I was accompanied by dive buddy Dr. Richard Taylor, who works at the Lee Marine Lab. Richard is a rocky shore specialist and a diving photographer. Here he is photographing some encrusting life on a rocky wall. You'll get to meet him topside later. To get over there, we took a trip in the 5-meter dive boat Orca. Same name as Quint's boat in Jaws, but a lot smaller. Doesn't matter, we're not expecting any malevolent megafauna. You see, you're tied up here at Sandspit with Richard standing alongside. We started our journey from Sandspit and came out through the channel here, which is the Marikana River channel, and made our way across to Mullet Point, which is a distance of about 7 kilometers. Then we made the trip from Mullet Point over to Motu Reka Island, where we went diving on the Rewa. Here's a still I took while swimming across to the wreck, showing the bow section of the Rewa with little Orca at anchor next to the hull. Now I'm in the water, swimming towards the Rewa, and you can see Richard's bubbles in the distance. And getting closer, now you can see the side of the Rewa from underwater. All of its encrusting life. There's Richard photographing invertebrates. Time to explore the hull. Along the hull, there are portholes, some with fish looking back at you. Lots of Mediterranean fan worms. There's one right there, an invasive species. And when you look into a porthole, you can see the refracted surface. And lying at 90 degrees to the hull are the masts. Here is one coming up to us now. I swam along the mast, going a bit, I've speeded it up a bit. Lots and lots of Mediterranean fan worms. Fan worms are entertaining. If you disturb the water around them or touch them, they withdraw their fans inside their tubes. Using my modeling light I can bring back color to these sponges. So I swam back up the mast, then towards the stern. And it was here that I saw some fish. I eventually surfaced at the bow of the Rewa. That's the end of the dive, back to Orca. This inspired us to do a proper aerial survey of Motueka, the Rewa, and the islands surrounding. Subject of the next chapter. Hello everybody, so this is Ian Anderson and that's Francois Baez, and we're with Eve in the background. We're going to fly out from Hauraki today and fly over Motueka Island, and so we'll give you a nice overall overhead view of the wreck. It took us about 10 minutes to get from Hauraki, where we launched, to Waiwira, distance of about 30 kilometers. Then we went from Waiwira over to Motueka Island. We'll see the video will pick up where we're actually turning around here and heading along this part of the coast. So we come around, we turn around the corner here, have a look at the wreck, do some flying about, and then we finish off visiting Beehive Island. Then from Beehive Island we come back, and on our return journey pass between Motueka and Motueka and head home. 10 minutes out of Hauraki, we're flying over Waiwira, and at the top left you can see Motueka Island. A few minutes later we're over Motueka Island and flying counterclockwise around the coastline, and we're about to fly over a Department of Conservation campsite. You can see the beach and the campsite in the distance. Then we bid farewell to Motueka and head over to Motueka and its surrounding islands. We're flying over Motueka, and on the eastern side are the Rocky Islets, and adjoining Motueka is Motueka. We bank to the right and pass over the wreck of the Rewa. Now we're going to bank around to the left and have a look at the other side of the island. Sea caves. The water looks super clear, very enticing for the scuba diver. We're going to do one more pass over the Rewa, then head out to Beehive Island. Beehive's over in the northeasterly direction from Motueka. It's super small, as you'll see from the air. It's like one of those islands from a Larson comic about a castaway. All you need for company here is Wilson the volleyball. A few minutes later, we're passing over the channel between Motueka and Motueka and heading home. Off the southeastern coast of the island group are the Rocky Islets in the middle of the frame. They looked really interesting and a good dive. And that's the subject of the next chapter of this flight documentary. So on the 25th of August, Richard Taylor and I went out to the island group again in Orca. Here we are passing the Rewa. I've speeded the video up a little bit we motored along and made our way right round to the bottom tip and up again on the eastern side to the Rocky Islets. We're sitting here at anchor, getting ready to go in the water in our scuba gear. Orc is safely anchored between the Rocky Islets and Mototara Island. We were in about 6 meters of water. We entered and swam over towards one of the islands and swam round to the left into deeper water. The sea bottom was absolutely covered in sea anemones, little white sea anemones. Some of them were surrounding encrusting sponges like this bright orange one here. When we got into deeper water, I turned the camera video on. Here's a great big sponge. And there's Richard. I wonder what he's looking at. I swam over to a nice surprise. It was a crayfish, and a big one too. Not many of these guys left in the Gulf. Better leave them alone. Carried down to the sea bottom and saw some fish. And then my camera card was just about completely full, so I could only take still shots from here on in. Here we see several species of sponge. The highlight of the dive was this very large sea slug, an Umbraculum nudibranch. I didn't immediately recognize what it was. Here we are looking at its backside. It's got a shell-like structure on its top, and you can see its rhinopores or horns on the other side of the shell. They're widespread in the Indian Ocean and Western Pacific in warm to tropical waters. Well, that brought us to the end of the dive. We swam up into the shallows, over the field of anemones, and back to the boat. Well, we have been diving at the Rocky Islets, and Richard and I have been together here. And Richard, say hi to the camera. And the conclusion of a successful day. We got down to about 13 meters, I think, didn't we, Richard?
Yeah.
13 meters. Water was quite clear, so I even saw a crayfish. Pretty rare for around here. Anyway, so that's our adventure for the afternoon. On the other side of essentially on the other side of the island to the wreck of the Rewa. Richard's piloting the boat right now, heading home. Well, we can see that even while sunk, a ship serves a purpose, providing a home to many species of life. It's been a real privilege to meet the inhabitants of the Rewa and the Rocky Islets.